Hi, it's Kati, and this is part 2 of this tutorial. So if you haven't watched the part 1, I recommend you to go watch it. So in this part, we are going to see how to optimize our 3D mesh grass inside Unreal Engine. So here we are in the project. So yes, I already made a landscape and create some material for it. But of course, it's not needed. You can just start a blank project. So I will just create a folder and drop grass auto inside. And so here is the import setting. Of course, you can pause to make sure that everything is the same. So I'm gonna hit replace on Vectorworks color and make sure that all the boxes are checked. So import mesh LD are need to be checked. Here is so the auto compute LD need to be unchecked and number of LD need to be 3. And of course you can change the uniform scale as well if needed. So I'm gonna open my content folder, the grass O2, I'm gonna drop it on the ground and I'm gonna open the material. So here I'm gonna check the blend mask to mask and shading model to subsurface and check the box two-sided. I'm gonna plug the RGB result into the subsurface and the alpha of the base color into the opacity mask. And there we are. Okay, so now I'm gonna go back to the material. I'm gonna hold M and left click for bring a multiply node. I'm gonna look for a desaturation and I'm gonna do and bring another multiply node. Now I will just hold S at left click to bring a parameter node. I'm gonna change the name for brightness and change the default value to be 1. Now I'm gonna bring the node 1 minus to invert the result, and I'm gonna bring another parameter node and call this saturation, and so I'm gonna change the default value to 1. Here I'm gonna hold 3 and left click, and so we're gonna bring a constant 3. I'm gonna change it and convert it to parameter and plug that here, and so change the default value to be fully white. I'm gonna hold S left click to bring a parameter node, change this, the name to be specular, and I'm gonna keep the default value to at 0. Now I'm gonna change the roughness, plug that here, change the value to be 1. And here I'm gonna bring the flatten normal node, bring that and plug that into the result, and I'm just gonna bring so 1 minus to invert the result and bring another parameter, and so name is this as normal trend. So of course it's really up to you if you want to have more of those parameters. You can, for example, bring a power node to control the contrast, and it's really up to you. Okay, so now we are going to change the LOD. So I'm going to go in static mesh, look for LOD, check the custom box, and here I'm going to watch in the top left corner, and as you can see we have the current screen size. And so watching this, I'm going to change this value. So LD0 must be at 1. And so the second one is going to be at 0.3 and the last one will be at 0.07. So of course it's up to you, but we need to make sure that the transition between LD are smooth. Now I want to check if my vertex color is applied, so I'm going to hit show and vertex color. Okay, so we are good. So we are going to create a material function now. So I'm going to create a new material function, name this as mf underscore object random. I'm going to double click to open it. Now I'm going to bring an object position workspace. Now I'm going to bring a multiply node, a constant 3. I'm going to change the value for the x to be 1.1, y to be 125, and z 133. I'm going to bring another, so a divide node. I'm going to bring a break float 3. And so I'm gonna change the divide B socket to be 2, and I'm gonna bring a 2 add node. I'm gonna add all of the result together and bring a frac node. Now I'm gonna plug the result into the output, and we're gonna create another material function. So I'm gonna just bring another and call this one mf underscore wine effects. I'm gonna double click, and so here we're gonna bring a time node and an input function. So I'm gonna change the type to be scalar and change these names to scalar. I'm just going to duplicate two times this and change the name to speed and variation. Now I'm going to bring a multiply node, and I'm going to bring my material function object random, but I've just forgot something. So we're going to bring another function input and change the name to be seed, and take a reroute node, change the name to seed, and bring the result into the B socket of the divide. So we're going to jump back into the material function wine effect and bring this material function object random. So I'm just going to plug the result into the multiply here. I'm going to bring a multiply node. So multiply these two results together and add these two results together. So here I'm going to bring 3 sine node. So I'm gonna keep the first as the default value, the second to 1.25, and the third to 133. We're gonna add all of the result together, and I'm just gonna multiply the result by 0.33 to divide by 3. And I will bring another multiply node, and I will bring the node bounding box 1 minus to invert the result, another function input, name this as mask, you need to be a scalar, bring another multiply node, this one, so another function input, and this one's going to be so the direction, this one has to be a vector tree, not a scalar, bring another multiply node, another function input, and so this one's going to be the intensity overall of this material. So I'm going to hit apply, save, and we are good. Okay, so now we are gonna create our wine effect onto the material. So I'm gonna bring an absolute warp position, bring the x, y result into a divine node. I'm gonna bring a parameter called this ms warp position offset tile wave, bring 2 pattern nodes. I'm gonna bring the result into the pattern coordinates. Now I'm gonna bring 2 texture sample, and I'm gonna look for the texture water underscore n. So for both, we're gonna take the same texture. Now I'm gonna change value on the x and the y at the speed of the 2 pattern. So I'm gonna take a time node, a multiply, and a parameter called this ms underscore time. Plug that into both of the time pattern. I'm gonna add both of the results, normalize this. I'm gonna bring a rotate about axis node, bring the result in here, take vertex normal, plug that here. Now I'm gonna take a constant tree, change the y-axis to be 1 minus, another one, keep the result, the value at 0. I'm gonna take a multiply node, another constant tree, change that, convert that to be a parameter. Now I'm gonna change some of the value right there. You can change this will affect the direction of the wine. So we're gonna multiply this by a parameter ms intensity sway and change the value to be 0.005. Okay, so here I'm gonna lerp, so I'm gonna plug that into the B socket and plug concentrate to the A socket. Now I'm gonna bring the vertex color and take the red socket and plug that into the alpha of the lerp. Now I'm gonna change some of the setting, some of the value inside the parameter, and I'm just gonna take everything, press C, and name this as macro sway. Now I'm gonna bring 2 of these material functions, so mf underscore wine effect. I'm gonna bring a time node, a multiply node, and name this as bs time. Now I'm gonna plug so the this result into. I actually did forget to so change the name of this, so I'm gonna change it. Hit apply, save, and now I can plug the result into. So I'm just gonna refresh the material function and plug the result into time for both. I'm gonna create another parameter and name it as bs speed. Bring a multiply node, divide it, multiplying by 0.5, and one of the result into the speed and the other into the speed. Now I'm gonna bring this and name this as global variation, and this is gonna be put inside the variation. Now I'm gonna multiply both of the red vertex color and plug that into the mask. Now I'm gonna bring a constant tree, change the x value to be 1, bring a component mask, take RGB, normalize, a cross product. I'm gonna take a constant tree and change the z value to 1, and I'm gonna plug that into the direction and take from RGB and plug that into the direction. Now I'm going to take another parameter, name this as bs intensity, and plug that in both. I'm going to change value to be 5 and this one to be 1. And now I'm just going to sort all of the parameters, so whenever we are creating a material instance, every parameter will be sorted in a well group. Okay, so now we need to add together both of the sway. So I'm just gonna add these 2 material functions together. Add this one to this sway. I'm gonna change this name to be big sway, and so I'm gonna take the result, and so plug that into warp position offset. I'm gonna hit save and hit apply. So now I'm gonna create a material instance with the grass to material that we already created. I'm gonna change the material of the grass O2 static mesh. And so here we are in the material instance, and as you can see, we can change some of the setting to control so the look of our grass. So here I'm just gonna move the sun to the very top. And so as you can see here, the normal strength, we can change that to change normal, the roughness, the saturation, so the specular. Okay, so in the wine effect that we just created together, so there is two motions. So there is the macro sway and the big sway. And so the macro sway use two texture that we are moving on the X and the Y axis. And so this texture will help to basically rotate each one of the grass. And so we're gonna rotate each one of these grass. And so we can, with a large number in the tile wave, we can like create this effect that you can see on the screen right now. Okay, so it's really up to you to change those settings however you feel like. So keep in mind that's world position offset tile wave. So as I said, basically the more you add value on that, so if you go to a large number to something around 500 or even 5000, the wave is going to be bigger. And so here in this case I have a value of 5, so as you can see the shake is very small, so it's really up to you to control this setting as you want. And so I'm just going to change the time, the intensity sway to have a natural effect on my grass. And so I'm going to go back to 5 in tile wave. And so here is the big sway. And so here it's a simple wine effect. The big sway is just the grass moving from left to right and have a random so strength and direction. And so here is the last setting, so very basic, just the color. And so here we are, we cover all of the setting. Okay, so now I'm gonna take my static mesh, so grass O2, and drop it onto the foliage mode. So now I'm gonna change my brush size and paint the grass on my landscape. And so now we actually need to do one thing, is we need to go, so I'm gonna go in my static mesh, so grass O2, open it, and we will change the material to be the material instant that we just created. So now if we control and change anything in the material instance, everything's gonna be changed even in a foliage mode. So I'm gonna paint more of this grass on my landscape. And so we're gonna talk about call distance, which is very important. Okay, so here I have a value of 15k, and if I change that to 10k, as you can see, we see grass, we see less grass at further distance. And so I'm gonna go in my material instance, and I'm gonna bring the Tuto temporal AA node. Here I'm gonna bring the per instance fade amount, and I'm gonna plug that into the alpha threshold. And here I'm gonna bring a multiply node. I'm gonna take the result by holding control of the alpha, plug that into the multiply node with the Tuto temporal, and so we're gonna hit apply and save. And so now if I go back to my landscape, we are actually gonna see what this node does. So as you can see, we are starting to fade our grass, but this change depending of the call distance that we have. So if I lower this value to be 2k and I increase the value to be 15k, as you can see, we are start fading the grass from 2k, and it is so done at 15k. And so if I increase this number, as you can see, we're starting to very fading the grass, and so we can no longer see a sharp edge at the end of the call distance. So here I'm gonna have some decent value, so 15k to 25, I think it's really a good value for the grass in terms of performance and so visual quality. And so I'm just gonna increase the density of it to see the result. So last thing that I want to show, I actually want to show how I did this texture. So I'm just gonna increase the density of the grass. I'm gonna paint on the ground, and I'm gonna put the sun by controlling by holding Control and L to the very top. Now I'm gonna watch the very bottom, and I'm gonna press F9. Now I'm gonna click on the folder and I'm gonna open the screenshot that I have just taken. Now I'm gonna go in Substance Alchemist, drop the texture, and I'm just gonna use the node Make It Tile Advance and change some of the setting to just remove some of the seam that we have on the texture. And I'm just gonna save and export everything, so all the texture. Now I'm gonna go back in my project. So in my landscape material that I've made before, I'm just gonna open it. And in here, I'm gonna change. And so first import the texture and change those texture with the one we just created. And so as you can see, we did create a nice landscape material that fits very well. And lastly, if you want to learn more about foliage creation, I've made a 4-hour course on my Gumroad to literally create foliage, so 3D grass and bushes, from the very beginning to a ready to be used in-game 3D mesh. So if you want to see more, go check right now on my YouTube channel the introduction video about this course. Thanks for watching me. It was Gerti, and goodbye.